All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Otherland, Sea of Silver Light by Tad Williams. This is book number 4 in his massively epic Otherland science fiction, fantasy, virtual reality book series. I've got both the hardcover here and the paperback. Now, this book came out in 2001. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. It's got a great cover illustration by Michael Whelan. Always love Michael Whelan's illustrations. Now, if we look at these books on the shelf here, you know, they look real good all together here. I've got the hardcovers right there, so I can point my finger at it right there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I've got the paperbacks right here, and if we put them all together, let's see, they look pretty good too. So, a good job by the publisher for making sure that everything on the covers lines up right, everything on the spines line up right. That's important. You know, all the covers look like they match, except for their different colors. Anyway, now I have met Tad Williams. In fact, Tad Williams gave me a little blurb for my own book there. I don't know if you can read it. It says, yeah, there you can. It's in focus there now. Tad Williams. I consider him a friend. I met him. He signed my books. In fact, he signed book number 1 right here. Signed it. So I always show off my signed books. And then, not only that, but when I was sick in the hospital for 4.5 months, I read all of his Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series, reread them, and along with his Last King of Ostenard series, and then I read the first 3 books of the Otherland series while I was in the hospital. So Tad Williams' writing really helped me get through a very difficult time in my life. And now I exited the hospital, though, before I could get to book number 4, but I've just read it. And this is my review. We open up. There's not a lot I can say about the 4th book in a massive series like this, so I'm going to just have to keep things general. You know, I consider this series in tone and theme and just plot a little bit kind of like Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, where, you know, in Stephen King's The Dark Tower, the characters go through all these weird alternate reality things and they adventure through all these weird landscapes. Well, that's kind of similar to what's going on in the Otherland series, although the Otherland series has a reason for these alternate landscapes, and that's because the characters are all in a virtual reality world. All of our characters enter this virtual reality system to kind of solve a big, huge puzzle mystery that's in there that will not only will it solve the puzzle mystery in the virtual reality, but it will also save their own world, and it will also save some young children that have been kidnapped, and yada, yada, yada. There's just a lot of things going on. It's a very Da Vinci Code-esque puzzle-type novel series where just there's so many different plot threads, plot points, different character motivations, and a lot of just red herrings to go along with that, where you're just kind of always guessing what's going on, what's real, what's not, what's going on in this virtual reality world. Now, in the beginning of this book, we open with all of our main characters having adventured in virtual reality for the first 3 books. Well, now they're kind of mourning the death of one of their own, sort of, because they're kind of questing through the virtual reality together, kind of like the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring quest. It's kind of like that, but in virtual reality. Well, at the end of book 3, one of their the members of their fellowship dies, so they're all kind of mourning that. And then now, one of the things I forgot to mention was every time they enter a different part of this virtual reality world, they take on a different sim character. Like, sometimes sometimes the one character will look like a monkey, other times they'll look like a robot, other times they'll look like a cartoon character. Other times they'll look like a bug. But here's the thing, and that's a lot to keep track of when you've got like 10 main characters and they're changing shape and form all the time. I always just, for simplicity's sake, always pictured each character just as their real selves, as their real human self, adventuring through this. And that helped me kind of keep everything straight. Even though I knew that they looked different in the virtual reality, I just made them look like the first time Tad Williams introduced them as humans. That's kind of what I pictured in my head. So anyway, we've got this Grail Brotherhood that is trying to overtake, the world through the virtual reality, and their purposes are to extend life. They want to become immortals in this virtual reality. And then we've got our main character, the main bad guy, whose name is Dredd, who's probably my favorite character in the show. I don't think it's a show. Might be a show sometime, but right now it's just a book series. We'll edit that out. His name is Dredd. He kind of rises and rises, kind of levels up over the series of the previous three books to the point where he's kind of like a god in the virtual reality series. He's a serial killer in real life, so once he gets into the virtual reality, he's not going to change his ways. No, and he becomes pretty powerful. And then we've got our main characters, Renee and Zabu and Sam and a bunch of the other French lady and the little robot guy and then Paul Jonas and there's a whole bunch of other characters that are working in the virtual reality, and then there's a bunch of other characters that are on the outside of the virtual reality in the real world, and they're dealing with their own issues trying to save the world. But anyway, all things considered, this book is a dynamite conclusion to the 4-book series. It's got a great race to the finish ending, full of betrayal and more betrayal, and even, another betrayal. And then it's just like, you kind of like feel bad for some of the characters because they've trusted other characters so much, and then it's just all the rug is lifted, and then it's just a badass series in general. And so I give it 10 out of 10. I think I've given all the books 10 out of 10. But certainly the final book, Sea of Silver Light, gets a 10 out of 10. Tad Williams' Otherland series. Nothing but a thumbs up from me. One of my favorite science fiction series of all time. And probably one of my top 5 favorite writers of all time.